Look like one former NBA referee has took the gloves off in this gambling scandal. He's exposing everybody.
The gloves are off, and what's coming out is absolutely explosive. A former NBA referee has just broken his silence on a gambling scandal that's threatening to tear apart professional basketball as we know it, and the WNBA is right at the center of it all. But this isn't just about gambling. This is about corruption, manipulation, and a league that may have been rigged from the inside. Referees are finally speaking out. Whistleblowers are coming forward, and Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's entire
whistleblowers is coming out of the woodwork. Now, we know Adam Silver was pressed hard this past weekend whenever he was out at games, making an appearance, and they wasted no time at all getting him pretty much.
Leadership is now under a microscope. The integrity of the WNBA is hanging by a thread, and fans everywhere are demanding answers. What you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about women's basketball. We've all watched the games. We've all seen the questionable calls. But what if I told you it was never about human error? What if those controversial moments weren't mistakes at all, but calculated?
And Terry Rozier was allowed to keep playing after an NBA investigation ruled that there was no NBA rules violated. What do you make of that decision now amid the FBI's allegations against him?
So what happened was, because bets were placed through legalized legal betting companies, they picked up aberrational behavior around a particular game in March of 23. And so that was brought to our attention by the regulators and the betting companies. We then looked into that situation and were very transparent about it. And while there was that aberration,
moves orchestrated from the top. That's exactly what former referees and league insiders are claiming right now, and their testimonies paint a picture so disturbing, it's hard to believe this could happen in professional sports. This isn't about a ref missing a foul or getting a call wrong in the heat of the moment. We're talking about systematic corruption that strikes at the very foundation of competitive integrity. Multiple officials have come forward, and what they're revealing is sending shockwaves through the entire basketball world. According to these referees, there was constant pressure from league management to influence game outcomes in subtle but deliberate ways. They weren't being told to throw games outright like some kind of Hollywood crime movie. No, this was far more calculated, far more insidious. Referees were receiving specific guidance on which players should be protected and which ones could be targeted with aggressive calls. Before games even started, there were meetings where certain narratives were emphasized, making it crystal clear what the league office wanted to see happen on the court.
I'm doing terrific. Good morning, guys.
Fantastic.
Good morning.
Fantastic. Appreciate you for making the time. So what do you think about what's going on here?
You know, I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg. I think when you talk about arrests being made by the FBI, I think the guys that are arrested are going to sit down and, be scared to death with what they're facing, and they're going to start to cooperate, and they're going to tell the FBI everything they know, and this thing is going to spread like wildfire. And
one former official, speaking on condition of anonymity because they feared for their career, described an environment of pure fear. If you didn't fall in line with what management wanted, you'd suddenly find yourself with fewer game assignments. Your performance reviews would mysteriously tank even though your actual work on the court hadn't changed at all. This is textbook corporate intimidation, the kind of thing you'd expect in a cutthroat business environment, not in professional sports where fairness and integrity are supposed to be sacred. These referees weren't being asked to enforce the rules equally. They were being turned into tools to shape storylines and manufacture drama. And nowhere is this more obvious than in what happened to Caitlin Clark. Her situation is the perfect case study for everything these referees are talking about. Throughout her rookie season, the level of physical abuse she endured was absolutely unprecedented. Opponents were allowed to body check her, grab her jersey, elbow her directly in the
2 days before this announcement is made, or even 1 day before this announcement is made, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was on Pat McAfee. You think that was intentional?
Absolutely. I think he was trying to, get ahead of the fire a little bit and talk about that they need to get gambling under control. And I think that he's going to continue to try to figure out a way to put a lid on this. But it's going to be very difficult for him because I think this is.
So Adam Silver went on Pat McAfee, I'm guessing before all the
face, and somehow, inexplicably, the whistle stayed silent. Meanwhile, if Clark so much as breathed on someone while playing defense, she'd get called for a foul instantly. The inconsistency was so blatant, so in-your-face obvious, that even casual fans who barely understood the rules started questioning what they were watching. Social media exploded with clips showing the double standard. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. And now we know why. Referees have confirmed that Caitlin Clark was essentially marked. She was someone who could be played rough, someone who wouldn't get the same protection as other players, and there would be no consequences for it. And this decision? It came from the top. It came from the league office itself. Some insiders say the reasoning was that the WNBA didn't want to appear like they were giving Clark special treatment, just because she was popular and brought in massive viewership numbers. Others claim it was far more calculated than that. They believe the league deliberately created controversy around Clark because it generated attention, sparked debates on social media, and ultimately boosted ratings. Either way, the result was the same. One player was subjected to a completely different set of standards than everyone else on that court. That's not competitive sports. That's manufactured drama at the expense of player safety. But the problems go way beyond Caitlin Clark. Referees are blowing the whistle on how the entire league handles discipline and consistency. Officials describe a system where penalties and fines are handed out arbitrarily. Players with the right connections or who play for certain high-profile teams get slaps on the wrist for infractions that would cost others thousands of dollars in fines or even suspensions. There's zero transparency in how these decisions are made. The league doesn't have to explain itself, doesn't have to justify why one player gets punished and another walks free for the exact same violation. And that lack of accountability? It breeds corruption. It creates an environment where favoritism thrives and integrity dies. So what has Commissioner Cathy Engelbert had to say about all of this? Her response has been dismissive at best and downright insulting at worst. While referees are coming forward with serious allegations about systematic corruption, Engelbert talks about record viewership numbers and revenue growth like that's all that matters. She completely ignores the legitimate complaints about how the league operates, deflects when pressed about officiating controversies, and hides behind corporate buzzwords like continuous improvement and respecting the process. It's the exact kind of non-answer you get from politicians who know they're guilty, but hope that if they keep talking in circles long enough, people will just forget and move on. Fans and players deserve honest leadership, and instead they're getting empty corporate doublespeak. Here's the thing about Cathy Engelbert. She didn't come from basketball. Her background is pure corporate America. She was the CEO of Deloitte before taking over the WNBA, and her entire approach to running the league reflects that. Everything is about business metrics, sponsor relationships, revenue targets. Now, that's not inherently bad. Sports are a business, after all. But it becomes a massive problem when competitive integrity takes a back seat to commercial interests. And that's exactly what's happening. Referees have indicated that certain teams get favorable treatment based purely on market size or ownership connections. Small market teams feel like they're playing a rigged game where the deck is stacked against them before the ball even tips off. The league isn't focused on fairness. It's focused on maximizing profit, even if that means manipulating outcomes. And then there was the Wall Street Journal investigation. When a publication of that caliber publishes accusations about civil rights violations in how Caitlin Clark was treated, things are serious. Major media outlets don't throw around allegations like that casually. They do extensive research, conduct countless interviews, and fact-check everything before going public. The fact that the Wall Street Journal felt confident enough to call out the WNBA's discriminatory practices should have been a wake-up call. It should have triggered immediate and sweeping reforms. But what did Engelbert's office do? They issued a bland, carefully worded statement and hoped the story would fade into the background. That response tells you everything you need to know about her priorities. Protecting the league's image matters more than protecting the league's players. The toxic culture doesn't stop at the referees either. League insiders describe a work environment where speaking up about problems means risking your entire career. Coaches have privately complained about being told which players should get more playing time or which narratives they need to push in media interviews. Team executives talk about being overruled on personnel decisions because the league office wants to maintain certain competitive balances or market dynamics. This level of micromanagement destroys the authenticity that makes sports compelling in the first place. Fans don't tune in to watch corporate theater. They want real competition, genuine drama that emerges organically from the game itself, not scripted outcomes designed to maximize ratings. And we can't ignore the gambling connections that make all of this even more disturbing. When referees have the power to influence game outcomes through selective enforcement of the rules, and when there's evidence that betting patterns sometimes predict controversial calls before they even happen, you've got a crisis on your hands. The NBA is currently dealing with its own gambling controversies, high-profile investigations, arrests by the FBI. Yet the WNBA under Engelbert seems determined to pretend it's somehow immune to these same issues. She's been noticeably quiet about implementing stronger safeguards or transparency measures that would actually protect the league's integrity. It's almost like she doesn't want anyone looking too closely at what's really going on behind the scenes. Player reactions have been all over the map. Some veterans are finally speaking out, frustrated that their careers are being manipulated by forces completely beyond their control. But many others stay silent, terrified of retaliation or worried about losing endorsement deals if they're labeled as troublemakers. And the younger players? A lot of them don't even realize how abnormal this situation is. They've never experienced a properly run professional league, so they think this level of interference and inconsistency is just how things work. They've been conditioned to accept corruption as normal. Compare the WNBA to other professional sports leagues, and the difference is night and day. The NFL has its problems, sure, but referee assignments and performance reviews are handled with far more transparency. The NBA has made real efforts to explain controversial calls publicly and admits mistakes when they happen. Major League Baseball has detailed, clearly defined protocols for discipline and rule enforcement. But the WNBA under Engelbert? It operates more like a startup desperately trying to protect its brand image than an established sports league committed to fair competition. The secrecy, the lack of accountability, the arbitrary decision-making, none of that would fly in more mature professional organizations. Yet somehow the WNBA gets away with it. Even television partners are getting nervous. Networks pay serious money for broadcast rights, and they need fans to trust that what they're watching is legitimate competition. But when social media explodes after every single game with clips showing obviously missed calls and wildly inconsistent enforcement, it damages the product's credibility. Broadcasters have quietly been pushing the league office to address these issues, but Engelbert seems far more interested in hitting quarterly revenue targets than fixing structural problems that are eroding fan trust. You'd think the referee union would be fighting back hard against all of this, but they've been surprisingly silent. Some officials who spoke out did so only after leaving the league entirely, which strongly suggests they feared retaliation while they were still working. The union should be protecting its members, fighting for objective performance standards and transparent assignment processes. Instead, there's been mostly silence, which means one of two things. Either the union is complicit in the corruption, or they're too weak and intimidated to effectively advocate for their members. Neither option is good. Even international referees who've worked WNBA games have expressed shock at the operational culture. Officials who work in European leagues or FIBA competitions describe a far more professional environment where calls are reviewed objectively and referees aren't pressured to favor certain outcomes. They talk about being confused by how much politicking and relationship management seems to matter in the WNBA, way more than actual rule knowledge or game management skills. The league's reputation in international basketball circles has taken a serious hit because of all this. Engelbert's corporate background really shows in how she's handled these crises. She treats competitive integrity issues like PR problems that need clever messaging strategies instead of fundamental reforms. Her public statements are packed with empty buzzwords about growth and empowerment, but she completely dodges substantive questions about fairness and accountability. It's corporate doublespeak at its absolute worst, deployed at a moment when fans and players desperately need honest, transparent leadership. The timing of these referee revelations is particularly significant because the league is right in the middle of negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement. Players are demanding better pay and improved working conditions, which they absolutely deserve. But they should also be demanding structural reforms that guarantee competitive integrity. What good is a bigger paycheck if the games themselves are being manipulated? What's the point of higher salaries if your career trajectory is being shaped by factors that have nothing to do with your actual performance on the court? The players' union needs to make transparency and accountability non-negotiable parts of any new agreement. This is their chance to force real change. Some people defend Engelbert by pointing to the financial growth during her tenure. Revenue is up, expansion teams are being added, media deals have improved. Those are legitimate accomplishments, and nobody's denying that. But financial success doesn't excuse corruption. It doesn't justify the systematic mismanagement that's poisoning the competitive product. You can absolutely grow a business while maintaining ethical standards. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Engelbert's fundamental failure is believing that commercial success somehow justifies or excuses everything else. It doesn't. Fans aren't staying quiet either. Social media is absolutely flooded with people documenting suspicious patterns in how games are officiated. Dedicated fans have created detailed spreadsheets tracking fouls called per player, analyzing shooting foul discrepancies between teams, documenting how identical plays result in completely different calls depending on who committed them. This grassroots data analysis is damning because it proves the problems aren't just imaginary complaints from sore losers. They're real, they're measurable, and they're undeniable. Caitlin Clark's rookie season will go down as the most visible example of these broader corruption issues. The unprecedented physical abuse she endured, the way referees consistently looked the other way, it was shocking. The league would fine players thousands of dollars for saying the wrong thing on social media, but dangerous plays that could have ended Clark's career went completely unpunished. The message was crystal clear. Protecting the league's carefully crafted image mattered more than protecting its players. That's a fundamental betrayal of what a commissioner is supposed to do. So the question now is whether anything will actually change. Referee revelations are important, but they're meaningless without concrete action. The league needs independent oversight of officiating. Performance reviews must be transparent and based on objective, clearly defined criteria. Discipline decisions need to be explained publicly and applied consistently across all players and teams. Financial relationships between team owners, league management, and officials should be fully disclosed. None of this is radical or unreasonable. It's basic good governance that already exists in every other major professional sport. But Engelbert has shown zero indication she's willing to implement these reforms. She's doubling down on her business-first approach, hoping these controversies will just fade away as new storylines emerge. That strategy might work in the short term, but it's destroying the league's credibility in ways that will be incredibly hard to repair. Sports fans will tolerate a lot, but they won't tolerate feeling like what they're watching is fake or predetermined. Once that trust is broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. The WNBA deserves better leadership than what Cathy Engelbert is providing. The players deserve a level playing field where success is determined by skill and effort, not by which storylines the league office wants to manufacture. Fans deserve to know that what they're watching is legitimate athletic competition, not corporate theater disguised as sports. Referees deserve to do their jobs without political pressure and career threats hanging over their heads. None of that is happening right now under this regime, and that represents a catastrophic failure of leadership at the highest level. The corruption allegations aren't going away. Referees breaking their silence is just the beginning. This league needs serious, transparent reforms immediately, not more empty corporate promises. Fans deserve authentic competition, not manipulated outcomes designed to maximize profit. The truth is finally coming out, and it's uglier than anyone imagined.